I think the Balinese particularly are very proud and honored because the philosophy of way of life of people in Bali, Hita Karana, is used as the topic on this international seminar. In this case, I personally, as Balinese, really very proud, and I would like to congratulate the Minister, Ibu Mari. She is the one probably as the ambassador of Hita Karana. Really, she is the one putting the driving force. And the second, after the ambassador, I'm sorry, because she is minister, now I call it ambassador. I'm downgrading, no. But I consider also as the special envoy of Hita Karana, Ibu Seri Nursalin. Ibu, would you stand up, please? She is the one really putting as the driving force behind to bring this Hita Karana at least in this APEC forum now. Once again, that we really appreciate on behalf of people in Bali, that really that we're proud of it. But why this Hita Karana now that has been put into this picture related to the sustainable development? Because during this seminar has been identified the way that we developing the development, probably that somewhere, someplace, not yet properly done. And here, the Hita Karana concept, philosophy, we propose as one of the solutions to bring correctly the development, what we call it, the sustainable development. Why this Hita Karana? Relation with man, with God, or the Creator. Basically that bring the values of spiritual, good values from any religions in this world. In brief, basically that we take what is the ethics and what is the moral from that belief. Consider as the basis on the development. Relation with man or nations, this is how we respect each other. Placing human being at the center, as the subject, not just as an object. And with the environment that we respect each other, how people, men, respect environment, and environment influence us. I impressed with the expression of one representative of local community in Serangan. When we asked about this, Ibu Mari asked to him, what do you think about Hita Karana? The first that he expresses, don't ask what don't ask what environment could give to us, but ask what we as human beings could give to the environment. I think this is the basic essentials of this Hita Karana. And we hope with this particular philosophy that we can share that how probably that the sustainable development could be done in the future. Related to this, in tourism particularly, the implementation of this, we concern on the development of people. Because tourism basically business people to people. In this case, that we have to be able to prepare. Take the case in Bali, because what is the main attraction of tourism in Bali? Culture, way of life of people. People creating culture. For that reason that we emphasize the priority on the development, empowerment of people. That's why that we have created what we call a creative campus. Creative campus basically is not only preparing people just to be workers, no, but the most important is bringing the ideal from all over the world and then expose to the local people and how we could stimulate their creativity in order to be able to anticipate the future. This is basically the creative campus is. Thank you.
The basic idea of sustainable development is that each society should devote itself to three major objectives, but together: economic development, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. So sometimes it's said we're moving beyond GNP. GNP means just economic development, but not paying enough attention to whether the benefits are well distributed in society and not paying enough attention to the environment. So the decision taken at the Rio +20 summit was to put all three dimensions, economic, social, and environmental, together, and to place them under the framework of sustainable development goals. Now, the world's governments are negotiating those specific goals now, and in 2015 there will be an agreement reached by the 193 governments of the United Nations of a new set of goals for the period 2015 to 2030. So government should start now on sustainable development. They don't have to wait till 2015. They need to start working on a safer environment, low carbon energy, renewable energy, resilient cities, better delivery of health and education services, fighting poverty. Those principles are already in place, but in 2015 there will be specific goals that will be adopted at the UN and that all countries will then be directed to satisfy, to achieve during the next 15-year period. And this, I think, can be a breakthrough for the world because it will be a kind of guiding light for countries. Don't wreck the environment anymore. Take seriously the protection of the planet. Take seriously the help for poor people so that income inequality is reduced, not increased. These are the basic principles that I think will be very important.
Last one. Yeah, last one.
We've been hearing that indigenous communities should be involved in tackling climate change because they have a connection and knowledge to connection to nature. Can you give us examples of how successful have been initiatives or programs involving indigenous communities in relation to climate change? Thank you.
All over the world, indigenous communities have faced poverty, exclusion, loss of political rights, loss of resources for many generations. And so indigenous communities, which number around 400 million people in the world total, have a high concentration of poverty and social exclusion. So part of the responsibility of sustainable development is empowerment of indigenous communities. This has been a core challenge of fighting extreme poverty, helping indigenous communities who often don't even receive public services but have their land taken away from them instead. So this is a central social and political responsibility. Indigenous communities live in vulnerable environments often, and also in forest environments or high biodiversity environments. And one of the great lessons of protecting forests, for example, which plays a big role in avoiding climate change, because deforestation accounts for roughly 15 to 20% of the total emissions, or land use change is a big part of the carbon emissions. When communities are empowered to manage their resources, not to have them taken away by outside interests, but to manage those resources in a sustainable manner, they do a very good job. And so if indigenous communities are empowered to manage their forestry resources or their marine resources, one can expect that there can be very, very good performance to stop deforestation, to rebuild forests, and to rebuild biodiversity. And so I think your question is a very good one, because empowering indigenous communities can also mean avoiding environmental degradation, and in the area of climate change, avoiding the kind of land use change and deforestation that is so threatening. It threatens everything, by the way. It threatens the livelihoods of the people. It threatens the survival of biodiversity. Some of the species that are threatened with extinction, like the orangutan or the gorilla species in Africa, depend on local communities to protect them. And so this is also part of the biodiversity challenge. But the climate change challenge also depends on us rebuilding the carbon base of our ecosystems. And this is something that indigenous communities can do very, very well if they are empowered to do it. We saw a powerful example of one of the solution initiatives today of the local communities taking responsibility for reforestation, and it works very well.